Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Speak and Feel English, the space where conversations are not just heard, but truly felt. I'm Mia.
And I'm Ethan. Today, we're talking about something that quietly shapes our lives more than we realize, our evenings.
Yes, the topic is Stop Wasting Evenings. It sounds simple, but when you really think about it, evenings are often the most neglected part of our day.
That's true. People usually associate productivity with mornings. Wake up early, follow routines, get ahead. But evenings? They're often treated like leftover time.
Exactly. And because they're seen as leftover time, they're rarely protected or planned with intention.
Which is ironic because evenings are when you finally have control over your schedule. Work is done, responsibilities slow down, and you actually have space to choose what you want to do.
But instead of using that freedom consciously, most people fall into default patterns. They reach for their phones, open streaming platforms, or just drift without direction.
And before they know it, hours have passed. It's almost like evenings disappear without leaving a trace.
I think everyone has experienced that moment. You look at the clock and realize it's much later than you expected, but you can't clearly say what you did.
Yes, and what's interesting is that this doesn't always feel good. There's often a subtle dissatisfaction that follows.
Right. It's not intense regret, but it's enough to create a sense that something was lost.
And that feeling is important. It's a signal that your time and energy were not aligned with what truly matters to you.
Exactly, because deep down, people don't actually want to waste their evenings. They want them to feel meaningful, even if that meaning comes from rest.
That's a key point. Meaningful evenings don't have to be productive in the traditional sense.
Not at all. A meaningful evening could be reading a book, having a thoughtful conversation, or even resting in a way that genuinely recharges you.
The problem is that most people confuse relaxation with distraction.
Yes, and that confusion leads to habits that don't truly serve them. Watching something for a while can be relaxing, but doing it endlessly without intention often becomes draining.
It's like eating. A balanced meal nourishes you, but mindless snacking all day leaves you unsatisfied.
That's such a great comparison. The quality of what you consume matters, whether it's food or content.
So the real issue isn't that people are resting, it's that they're not resting well.
Exactly. And that's why evenings feel wasted, even when they're technically relaxed.
Another important factor is mental fatigue. After a long day, your brain is tired. It doesn't want to think, decide, or plan.
So it chooses the easiest path.
And the easiest path is usually passive consumption.
But here's the catch. What feels easy in the moment often feels empty later.
That's the cycle. You feel tired, you choose the easiest option, and then you feel unfulfilled afterward.
And over time, that pattern becomes a habit.
Which means evenings stop being a source of energy and start becoming a source of dissatisfaction.
So the question becomes, how do we break that cycle?
I think the first step is awareness. You have to notice how you're actually spending your evenings.
Yes, because you can't change something you're not aware of.
And awareness doesn't mean judging yourself. It just means observing your patterns honestly.
Exactly. Instead of saying, I wasted my time, you say, this is what I did, and this is how it made me feel.
That shift alone can be powerful.
Because once you see the connection between your actions and your feelings, change becomes more natural.
You start wanting something different, not because you have to, but because you feel the difference.
And that's where transformation begins. Now that we've talked about awareness, let's go deeper into why evenings are so vulnerable to being wasted.
One of the biggest reasons is that evenings don't come with structure.
That's true. During the day, your time is often organized by external demands, work, deadlines, responsibilities.
But in the evening, that structure disappears. And while that sounds freeing, it can actually be overwhelming.
Because when there's no structure, your brain has to create it.
And when you're already mentally tired, creating structure feels like effort.
So instead of deciding what to do, you fall back on habits.
And habits don't require thinking.
But the problem is that many of those habits were not chosen intentionally.
They were formed over time through repetition and convenience.
For example, checking your phone might have started as a quick break.
But over time, it becomes the default activity whenever you don't know what else to do,
And because it's so accessible, it fills every empty moment.
which means you never really experience stillness.
And that's important because stillness is where reflection happens.
Without reflection, you don't process your day,
And without processing, your experiences don't fully integrate.
which can leave you feeling mentally cluttered.
Exactly. So even though you're not doing much, your mind doesn't feel clear.
Another factor is emotional avoidance.
Yes, evenings often bring up thoughts and feelings that were pushed aside during the day.
And instead of facing those feelings, people distract themselves.
Because distraction feels easier than reflection.
But avoiding emotions doesn't resolve them.
It just postpones them.
And over time, that avoidance can create a sense of disconnect from yourself.
So wasting evenings is not just about time. It's about losing connection with your inner world.
That's such a powerful way to look at it,
And once you see it that way, it becomes more meaningful to change your habits.
because it's no longer just about productivity. It's about self-awareness.
Exactly. And that makes the process more personal and less pressured.
So instead of forcing yourself to be productive, you start choosing what truly matters.
And those choices don't have to be big.
Even small changes can make a difference.
Like setting aside just 30 minutes for something intentional.
That could be reading, journaling, or even just sitting quietly.
The key is that it's chosen, not automatic.
And that shift from automatic to intentional is what transforms evenings.
So now that we've explored awareness and the reasons behind wasted evenings, I think it's time to shift towards something more practical. How do we actually start reclaiming our evenings in a realistic way?
Yes, because understanding the problem is only half the journey. The real transformation happens when we begin to take small, consistent actions.
And I want to emphasize the word small. People often think they need to completely redesign their evenings overnight, but that approach rarely lasts.
Exactly. Big changes sound exciting, but they can feel overwhelming when you're already mentally tired at the end of the day.
So instead of aiming for perfection, it's better to aim for intention.
That's a powerful shift. Instead of asking, how can I make my evening perfect? You ask, how can I make this evening slightly better than yesterday?
And that question feels manageable. It invites progress without pressure.
One simple way to start is by creating what I like to call an anchor activity.
I love that concept. An anchor activity is something intentional that you commit to doing every evening, no matter how small.
Yes, it becomes a stable point in your evening, a moment that grounds your time.
It could be something as simple as reading 10 pages of a book, going for a short walk, or writing a few lines in a journal.
The activity itself isn't as important as the consistency behind it.
Because consistency builds identity. When you repeat a small action daily, you start seeing yourself differently.
You're no longer someone who wastes evenings. You become someone who uses them intentionally.
And that identity shift is incredibly powerful.
Another important step is reducing friction for positive habits.
Yes, because the easier something is to start, the more likely you are to do it.
For example, if you want to read in the evening, keep your book in a visible place.
Or if you want to exercise, lay out your workout clothes beforehand.
These small adjustments remove the need for decision-making in the moment.
And that's important because, as we mentioned earlier, evenings come with mental fatigue.
So the less thinking required, the better.
At the same time, it's also helpful to increase friction for distractions.
Exactly. If your phone is your biggest distraction, consider placing it in another room.
Or using app limits to reduce endless scrolling.
Because willpower alone is not always reliable.
Environment plays a huge role in shaping behavior.
Another idea is to define a loose structure for your evening.
Yes, not a rigid schedule, but a general flow.
For example, you might decide that your evening will include 3 parts: unwinding, intentional activity, and relaxation.
That creates a sense of direction without making it feel like a checklist,
And within that structure, you still have flexibility.
which is important because evenings should feel supportive, not restrictive.
I also think it's important to redefine what productive means in the evening.
Absolutely.
Productivity doesn't always mean doing more. It can also mean restoring your energy.
So if you spend your evening resting in a way that genuinely refreshes you, that's productive.
The key word is genuinely.
Yes, because there's a difference between passive distraction and intentional rest.
And learning that difference can completely change how you experience your evenings.
So overall, reclaiming your evenings is not about doing more. It's about choosing better.
And those better choices start small, but they build into something meaningful over time.
I think another important aspect of evenings that we haven't fully explored yet is the emotional side. How evenings can actually become a space for personal growth and self-connection.
That's such an important perspective. Most people see evenings as a time to escape, but they can also be a time to reconnect.
Exactly. During the day, you're constantly responding to external demands. But in the evening, you finally have the opportunity to turn inward.
And that inward time can be incredibly valuable if used intentionally.
For example, reflection is something that's often missing from people's routines.
Yes, and without reflection, it's hard to learn from your experiences.
Even a few minutes of thinking about your day, what went well, what didn't, what you felt, can create clarity.
And that clarity helps you grow.
Another powerful practice is journaling.
Journaling allows you to process your thoughts in a structured way.
It's like having a conversation with yourself.
And sometimes that's exactly what you need.
Because when you're constantly distracted, you lose touch with your own thoughts.
And that disconnect can make life feel overwhelming.
But when you slow down and listen to yourself, things start to make more sense.
Another important element is connection with others.
Yes, evenings can be a great time to strengthen relationships.
Whether it's talking to family, spending time with friends, or even having a meaningful conversation.
Because connection brings a different kind of fulfillment, one that distractions can't replace.
And yet many people choose screens over conversations.
Not because they don't value relationships, but because screens are easier.
But easy doesn't always mean better.
Exactly. And once you experience the depth of real connection, it becomes more appealing.
I also think creativity plays a role in meaningful evenings.
Yes, creativity is often neglected, especially in busy lifestyles.
But evenings can be the perfect time to explore it.
Whether it's writing, drawing, music, or any form of expression.
Creativity allows you to engage your mind in a different way.
And it can be incredibly refreshing.
Another aspect is learning.
Yes, evenings are a great time to learn something new.
It doesn't have to be intense, just a small step every day.
Over time, those small steps add up,
And they create a sense of progress.
which is deeply satisfying.
So when you combine reflection, connection, creativity, and learning, evenings become something much more meaningful.
They become a space for growth, not just recovery.
And that shift can change how you feel about your entire day.
Because when your evenings feel meaningful, your days feel more complete.
As we come toward the end of this conversation, I think it's important to bring everything together and reflect on what truly matters when it comes to evenings.
Yes, because at its core, this topic is not just about time management. It's about how you choose to live your life.
Evenings may seem small, but they make up a significant portion of your daily experience.
And how you spend them can influence your energy, your mindset, and even your sense of fulfillment.
One of the biggest takeaways from this discussion is that change doesn't require perfection.
It requires awareness and small, consistent effort.
You don't have to transform every evening.
You just have to make better choices more often.
And those choices don't have to be complicated.
They just need to be intentional.
Another important reminder is that rest is not the enemy,
Not at all. Rest is essential.
but the quality of rest matters.
Intentional rest restores you.
While mindless distraction often leaves you feeling empty.
So the goal is not to eliminate relaxation, but to improve it.
And to make it align with what you truly need.
I also think it's important to be patient with yourself.
Yes, because habits take time to change.
And there will be evenings where you fall back into old patterns.
But that doesn't mean you failed.
It just means you're human.
The key is to keep coming back to awareness.
and to keep choosing better, one step at a time.
Because over time, those small choices create a different kind of life.
A life where your evenings are not something you lose, but something you value.
And when you value your evenings, you start valuing your time more deeply.
Which ultimately means valuing your life.
So if there's one thing we want you to take away from this conversation, it's this: your evenings matter.
They are not just the end of your day.
They are an opportunity.
An opportunity to rest, to grow, to connect, and to reflect.
And how you use that opportunity is entirely up to you.
So tonight, instead of letting your evening happen by default,
Pause for a moment.
and choose it,
Choose something that aligns with what you truly need.
even if it's small.
Because small choices, repeated consistently, create meaningful change.
And that's how you stop wasting your evenings. Not by doing more, but by choosing better.
Thank you so much for being with us today and taking the time to reflect on something so important.
If you found this conversation helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Speak and Feel English for more thoughtful podcasts like this.
And share it with someone who might need this reminder.
Until next time,
Take care of your time.
and make your evenings count.